What is up, guys? Back again with another Reddit Explains video. Today we're going to be focusing on Marc Guiu from Chelsea going over to Sunderland, the striker. I wanted to make this video. I feel like I've been covering a lot of like Manchester United, Liverpool transfers, Arsenal transfers. I want this channel to really cover everybody in the Prem, everybody that's getting transferred. I want anybody that, even if it's for Sunderland, a little bit smaller of a team, not in the top 4, not in the top 6, I want to be covering all of these transfers that I think will make an impact in this season. And I've been watching Sunderland from the sidelines now this entire offseason. This entire transfer window, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about Sunderland and how great of business they've been doing. And I think people are a little bit hyperbolic with how good Sunderland have been doing in their transfer window. I think the Xhaka signing really actually makes this window amazing. But without the Xhaka signing, I would have said it's just a pretty average transfer window for a team that was promoted. They signed Adingra, who, you know, is somewhat Prem proven, but I think 2 goals, 2 assists in the last season, nothing insane. He was never really a shoo-in in the Brighton first 11. He was constantly losing his position. He was constantly losing minutes to Minte and all these other players. So you're kind of signing a backup right wing on a Brighton team that's middle of the pack. So you're not doing anything insane there. I thought Reynildo was a decent bit of business from Atletico on a free. Then you kind of signed Enzo Laffi, bringing him back, a good defensive midfielder, but again, nothing insane. And then a couple young midfielders like Habib Diarra to come in and, you know, hopefully have a spark, but none of these signings really screamed we're going to stay up. And I was really worried about who is going to be scoring the goals for them, because last season it's not like Sunderland were this super high goal scoring team. I think they were pretty much middle of the pack when it came to goals scored in the championship. So to stay up as a newly promoted team is already so difficult, but to do it without a quality striker is almost impossible. We just saw Ipswich, who had Liam Delap, who's been probably one of the more quality strikers of a promoted team in recent memory, and they couldn't stay up, even with him scoring 12 goals. So you need a lot of things to go right in your favor. You need a good overall team, but you need that striker. And I think when I was looking at the team and I was looking at this transfer window, I was watching and I'm like, is Sunderland really going to start the season with Isidore up top? You know, he had a pretty decent season last year for Sunderland, but nothing insane. You know, I think about 12 goals scored. He was kind of average when he was at Zenit, you know, in the Russian league for the last like two or 3 years. He was pretty bang average, always scoring like single-digit goals. Comes to Sunderland in the championship, scores barely double-digit goals, around 12 goals. You can't have that being the person that's leading your strike force going into the season. So seeing them sign Marc on a loan from Chelsea, I'm feeling a lot better about their possibilities of staying up. You know, Marc was never really getting minutes in the Prem, but he was starting in a lot of the Europa Conference League games, and he scored around 6 goals in 9 games. That's a great return. And again, the quality of player and quality of team you're going up against in the Conference League isn't amazing, but he was really always kind of sticking out in those games while other teammates weren't looking as good. He was making a lot. He was taking the opportunity with those minutes and doing as much as he can with it. Scoring 6 goals is not easy in any competition. So to be able to do it in 9 appearances, I thought really showed that he is a prospect for the future. And I think he really can help keep Sunderland up. So first, we're going to go into this comment where it says, Marc Guiu works really hard for the team and does it fairly effectively because he's an excellent presser. I do fully agree with this. In the Conference League, he was pressing. He was always the one leading the press. He really has good work ethic. He has a great motor, runs really hard, presses really hard. He understands how to cut off the passing angles. He knows how to keep the shadow behind him to cut off passes in behind him. So I think he's a great presser, which I don't know if Sunderland are going to be coming out in the Prem pressing, at least not super aggressively, but to have that option is always great. He got some opportunities and played very well in the Conference League last year before getting an injury. He got a good goal return for his minutes there. That's what I just talked about. He was never getting really... I think he got like a couple minutes in the Prem, maybe like 3 games, but nothing insane. But the minutes he did get in the Conference League, he did take full opportunity with them. And that's important, you know? I think there's a lot of players that might think the Conference League is beneath them, but to have a player that comes in every game, presses super hard in the Conference League, and scores 6 goals in 9 appearances, that's not to be overlooked. That's the type of player you want on a team like Sunderland, who is trying to stay up. He's gonna fight every game. He's going to work really hard, and Sunderland aren't gonna have a majority of the ball. You need a player that is going to work really hard, and that's what MARC does. He works extremely hard, and I think that's why I'm pretty high up on this signing as well. I wouldn't write off the chances of surprising people. I don't know if he's properly ready to be the main guy for a Premier League team. I don't think he's ready to be the main guy for a really great Premier League team, but I think he's ready to be the main guy for a team fighting to stay up. If you know, a team that's fighting to be in 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th place, I think MARC can be that guy, and I think he's ready for that. I would like to think if he starts 30 games, he can get 10 goals, 5 assists, 10 goals, 3 assists. And that's a lot. That's a lot for a team like Sunderland, whose striker in the Championship, who plays more games, scored 12 goals. Isidore scored 12 goals in the entirety of the Championship. So to be able to have someone that I truly believe can come in and score double-digit goals is really important. This guy says he's not being signed as the main striker at all. I mean, my issue with that is I maybe fully don't disagree. I think in the beginning he's not coming in to be the main striker, because, you know, they're gonna have to see his quality. They're gonna have to train him. He's gonna have to understand the system, the tactics. But there's no way, if you're a Sunderland fan, you can just trust in Isidore leading your line the entire season. I don't think you can comfortably sit there and say, yeah, this guy who scored 12 goals in the Championship was really, really bang average in the Russian league at Zenit, which Zenit is a good team, and he still wasn't able to do it at Zenit. I don't think you can have an overwhelming amount of belief in that. And then if you're thinking, oh well, Mayenda, he had a decent season as well. He scored 10 goals and got 5 assists. Again, that's a 20-year-old, young. He's not the best. He's not the most polished. I feel like you would want to be, if you're a Sunderland fan, 5 games in, MARC GUIU to be the starting striker if you have a chance of staying up. This is a guy that's been training with Premier League quality of the highest level for the last year, and then while playing with that Premier League quality in the Conference League, he was able to perform. You want players like that. You don't want to be relying on a 20-year-old Mayenda who had 10 goals, or Isidore, who, when he was playing for Zenit, could barely even score, and was able to score like 12 goals in the Championship this season. I don't think you want that. So to say he's not being signed as the main striker, I mean, you could think that, but if you're taking him on a loan, you're hoping that this guy can push Isidore and probably be the main striker 10 games in. It's the squad that gets you. Sunderland have done a good job of upgrading the first team. They've spent quite a lot of money, though still only half of most of the Premier League squad costs, and brought in quite a few Premier League quality first teamers, and they needed to. And I fully agree. You need to be upgrading your team aggressively when you're promoted. I think Xhaka was a really good signing. I think Adinger is better than what they've had, and just brings a little bit of Premier League quality, which is what they need. I think Reynildo in at left back is good, nice and solid. But again, none of these players other than Xhaka are like groundbreaking, or are someone that's going to help you really stay up. So I do agree they have signed some first teamers, but they needed to do a little bit more. Unlike when we got promoted, this means their promotion squad can now be relegated to just being their squad players. Yeah, you don't want the team that got you promoted to be the starting 11 while you're in the Prem, because you'll never be able to compete. But the problem is that most of these won't be good enough. Weak links get punished brutally. That I fully agree, and that's why they're kind of building the spine really well with a Xhaka, with a GUIU up front, with Habib Diarra probably playing as the attacking mid, with the Reynildo. It makes sense to build that quality spine. And he goes on to say the intensity of the Premier League is astronomically higher than the Championship, of course. That makes it much more of a squad game than in the EFL. You can get promoted with basically a good first 11 in the EFL. They can play almost all the minutes of most of the games, and when you have injuries, you can carry weak players to an extent. But in the Premier League, you pick up more injuries, more of the players get knackered earlier in the game. It is far more of a squad game, and those players needed to be standard or you get punished. That's what kills so many of the promoted sides, the drop-off in quality once they have an injury or two. I fully agree, but I fully agree with that sentiment, but I truly do think you need to focus fully on your starting 11 as a promoted team. You need to have a quality striker, you need a quality spine, which is center back, goalkeeper, defensive midfielder, striker. And they have that with Guy coming in, with Xhaka coming in. Reynildo isn't a center back, but I think he can marshal that back line pretty well. I think they have an overall pretty quality spine. Then they also brought in a Adingra. I think they need to be focusing on their starting 11 more and hoping that the 11 that brought them to the Prem, a lot of those players are going to lose their spot in the squad, in the starting 11, but you're hoping that those players can be the depth you're talking about. Where when you bring in an Adingra and somebody loses their place, the guy behind them, hopefully he's only playing 20 minutes in a game, and he's quality enough, and he has enough of belief to go out there and press really hard and work really hard to where even if he's a little bit below quality, below standard of an Adingra, he can still at least do a job. So I think focusing very harshly on their starting 11 is going to be really, really good. And I think Sunderland might have enough now that I saw the Xhaka signing and the Margui signing to stay up, genuinely. And I know there hasn't been a team to stay up that's been promoted in the last, I think, 2 seasons. I think Sunderland might have the quality. This guy says United will save Sunderland. I mean, I think United are actually going to have like a pretty good season. I think they're going to be top 8. So, you know, you might not get what you're hoping for. So, Chelsea fan says he presses really well, so that's a plus for a team that likely does not have much of the ball. I agree. He's got potential, but it's risky for them to rely on him. I just hope as a Chelsea fan he gets game time and isn't just riding the bench. I think he'll definitely get game time. I don't think they're going to be wanting to rely on Isidore and Mayenda. I think that's why they're bringing in Margui. I agree that he presses really well. I don't know if Sunderland are going to be out here aggressively pressing in the Prem, maybe against weaker teams, but I don't know if they can be pressing in the Prem against the upper half of the table teams. But I don't think they're going to be fully relying on him. I don't think you're expecting him to be like Lukaku at West Brom to be scoring you 20 plus goals. But I think they'll be relying on him to score 10 goals, which is all you can ask for from a 19, 20-year-old coming in on loan from an experienced team like Chelsea. So I think it's a good signing if you can bring in 10 goals to your newly promoted squad. The final comment I'm going to go through is he has a lot of potential, but in my opinion, he's too raw to be Sunderland's key man. He needs more experience first, and he has to adjust to the team, so I doubt he'll have an immediate impact. See, I don't think he's that raw. I think he's a pretty quality player on and off the ball, and he works really hard. I think he does need more first team experience, which is why he's going to Sunderland, and I think he might not have the immediate impact. It's like I said, I don't think he's going to be starting in the first 5 games, but I think by game 10, you're going to see he comes on, he creates chances, he gets in the right spots, he works really hard. It's going to be hard to not start a player like that. I think by game week 10, they will be relying on a Margui. So that's Reddit explaining to you guys Margui transfer from Chelsea to Sunderland on loan this season. I think by game week 10, he's going to be their starting striker, and he's going to be finishing with, I would go 10 goals. I think 10 goals is high. Maybe if I'm trying to be safer, if I had to put money on it, 8 goals. But I think he's going to have a good season, and I think he's going to bring a lot outside of goals to the team as well with the work ethic. So I'm really excited for the signing. So let me know what you guys think about Margui going to Sunderland. I think it's great. So thank you for watching.